I'm Noah Ralston, and this is my final project for managing machine learning projects. The goal of this project is to choose a topic and then work through a series of steps to evaluate the opportunity, walk through the business understanding phase of CRISP-DM, and then create a validation plan for the solution, consider key machine learning system design decisions, and identify different potential issues that may affect my final model in production. This is the criteria we'll be graded on. It's kind of summarized pretty well in the goal of the project too. The problem I chose is that in digital marketing agencies, client turnover is frequent and it's hard to predict, resulting in um, high difficulty to predict the actual necessary staffing and resourcing for these clients. And this can even cause high employee turnover due to being overworked and then wasted money in areas that we invested in to support specific client prototypes that we no longer have as an agency. So why machine learning? There's a large amount of factors that could determine client satisfaction with the agency. The input variables and output variables aren't really that linear. There's not always a direct correlation, and there's a complex relationship between all the variables. This is the outline of the CRISP DM process. We'll be going over some more of these factors as we go through the slideshow, but you can see before we chose what the problem was. And in the next step, we'll be identifying the factors and success metrics too. So there could be a lot of different factors going into this model from client performance, client budget, overall client business performance, to some things that are more in our control, like current staffing of the client, level of seniority on the account, percentage of hours that our staff is working solely on that client, and then some more like periodic factors like time of year, their current length of contract. All this and probably more can go into the likelihood that a client would re-sign. So what does success look like? Here could be amount of RFPs won, total number of clients, total client revenue, and then like a sub metric of employee retention. And then like an output metric would be root mean square error to determine if the model is as accurate as we would like it to be. Our solution will be to have a model that is accessible via probably like a client list and score sheet for our leadership sales account teams. This would be like a list of active clients along with risks or grades of leaving. We'll be able to validate this through somewhat through like interviews with employees that are working closely with the clients to determine their perceived risk. We can see if the model reflects recent client departures, and then we should be able to use it to predict the risk of upcoming clients in RFPs and see what if the outcome matches. Our machine learning system design, we'll be using cloud because latency isn't that important, and internet connectivity in an office will never be an issue. We'll be using offline learning because it's easier to implement and our data isn't really changing that frequently. And then we'll be using batch prediction because again, latency is not important and new predictions will be needed like at most weekly. So we'll be able to use batch prediction since especially it's more cost efficient. Areas of risk here is just like overall shifts in client perception across the industry and industry trends. A lot of concept drift here. You know, companies could be moving more towards in-house advertising, which we wouldn't necessarily be able to predict using our factors. Things like COVID can shift like overall consumer behaviors, which can impact business performance and the likelihood that they will invest in an agency. Automation efforts made by ad companies could reduce the need for agencies as a whole. And then like relationships with client contacts and leadership at the clients like CMOs, if that changes, then that could impact the overall risk of a client leaving. That's all that I have. Thanks for listening, and this was a great class.